Chapter 27, Connor. The morning after the bathroom incident, they are rousted awake by the fatigues before dawn. "Everybody up, now! Move it! Move it!" They're loud, they're on edge, and the first thing Connor notices is that the safeties on their weapons are off. Still bleary from sleep, he rises and looks for Risa. He sees her already being herded by two fatigues toward a huge double door that has always been padlocked. Now the padlock is off. "Leave your things! Go! Move it! Move it!" To his right, a cranky kid pushes a fatigue for tearing away his blanket. The fatigue hits him on the shoulder with the butt of his rifle, not enough to seriously wound him, but enough to make it clear to the kid and everyone else that they mean business. The kid goes down on his knees, gripping his shoulder and cursing, and the fatigue goes about the business of hurting the others. Even in his pain, the kid looks ready for a fight. As Connor passes him, Connor grabs him by the arm and helps him up. "Take it easy," Connor says. "Don't make it worse." The kid pulls out of Connor's grip. "Get off me. I don't need your stinking help." The kid storms away. Connor shakes his head. Was he ever that belligerent? Up ahead, the huge double doors are slid open to reveal another room of the warehouse that the Unwinds have never seen. This one is filled with crates, old airline packing crates, designed both in shape and durability to transport goods by air freight. Connor immediately realizes what they're for and why he and the others have been warehoused so close to an airport. Wherever they're going as air cargo. "Girls to the left, boys to the right. Move it! Move it!" There's grumbling, but no direct defiance. Connor wonders how many kids get what's going on. "4 to a crate. Boys with boys, girls with girls. Move it! Move it!" Now everyone begins to scramble around trying to team up with their preferred travel companions, but the fatigues have neither patience nor time for it. They randomly create groups of 4 and push them toward the crates. That's when Connor notices how dangerously close he is to Roland, and it's no accident. Roland moved close to him on purpose. Connor can just imagine it, pitch black and close quarters. If he's in a crate with Roland, then he'll be dead before takeoff. Connor tries to move away, but a fatigue grabs Connor and 2 of Roland's known collaborators. "You 4, that crate over there." Connor tries not to let his panic show. He doesn't want Roland to see. He should have prepared his own weapon, like the one Roland certainly has concealed on him now. He should have prepared for the inevitability of a life-or-death confrontation, but he hadn't, and now his options are limited. No time for thinking this through, so he lets impulse take over and gives in to his fighting instincts. He turns to one of Roland's henchmen and punches him in the face, hard enough to draw blood, maybe even break his nose. The force of the punch spins the kid around, but before he can come back for a counter-assault, a fatigue grabs Connor and smashes him back against the concrete wall. The fatigue doesn't know it, but this is exactly what Connor wanted. "You picked the wrong day to do that, kid," says the fatigue, holding him against the wall with his rifle. "What are you going to do? Kill me? I thought you were trying to save us." That gives the fatigue a moment's pause. "Hey!" yells another fatigue. "Forget him! We gotta load them up!" Then he grabs another kid to complete the foursome with Roland and his henchmen, sending them toward a crate. They don't even care about the one kid's bleeding nose. The fatigue, holding Connor against the wall, sneers at him. "The sooner you're in a box, the sooner you're somebody else's problem." "Nice socks," says Connor. They put Connor in a 4x8 crate that already has 3 kids waiting to complete their quartet. The crate is sealed even before he can see who's inside with him, but as long as it's not Roland, it will do. "We're all gonna die in here," says a nasal voice, followed by a wet sniff that doesn't sound like it clears much of anything. Connor knows this kid by his mucus. He's not sure of his name. Everyone just calls him the mouth breather, since his nose is perpetually stuffed. MB for short. He's the one always obsessively reading his comic book, but he can't quite do that in here. "Don't talk like that," says Connor. "If the fatigues wanted to kill us, they would have done it a long time ago." The mouth breather has foul breath that's filling up the whole crate. Maybe they got found out. Maybe the juvie cops are on their way, and the only way to save themselves is to destroy the evidence. Connor has little patience for whiners. It reminds him too much of his younger brother, the one his parents chose to keep. Shut up, MB, or I swear I'm going to take off my sock, shove it in your stinky mouth, and you'll finally have to figure out a way to breathe through your nose. Let me know if you need an extra sock, says a voice just across from him. Hi, Connor. It's Hayden. Hey, Hayden. Connor reaches out and finds Hayden's shoe squeezing it, the closest thing to a greeting in the claustrophobic darkness. So, who's lucky number 4? No answer. Sounds like we must be traveling with a mime. Another long pause. Then Connor hears a deep, accented voice. Diego. Diego doesn't talk much, says Hayden. I figured. They wait in silence, punctuated by the mouth breather's snorts. I gotta go to the bathroom, MB mumbles. You should have thought of that before you left, says Hayden, putting on his best mother voice. How many times do we have to tell you? Always use the potty before climbing into a shipping crate. There's some sort of mechanical activity outside, then they feel the crate moving. I don't like this, whines MB. We're being moved, says Hayden. By forklift, probably, says Connor. The fatigues are probably long gone by now. What was it that one fatigue had said? Once you're in a box, you're somebody else's problem. Whoever's been hired to ship them probably has no clue what's in the crates. Soon they'll be on board some aircraft headed to an undisclosed destination. The thought of it makes him think about the rest of his family and their trip to the Bahamas, the one they'd planned to take once Connor was unwound. He wonders if they went. Would they still take their vacation even after Connor had kicked AWOL? Sure they would. They were planning to take it once he got unwound, so why would his escape stop them? Hey, wouldn't it be funny if they were being shipped to the Bahamas, too? We're gonna suffocate. I know it, announces the mouth breather. Will you shut up? Says Connor. I'm sure there's more than enough air in here for us. How do you know? I can barely breathe already, and I got asthma, too. I could have an asthma attack in here and die. Good, says Connor. One less person breathing the air. That shuts MB up, but Connor feels bad having said it. No one's gonna die, he says. Just relax. And then Hayden says, at least dying's better than being unwound. Or is it? Let's take a poll. Would you rather die or be unwound? Don't ask things like that, snaps Connor. I don't want to think about either. Somewhere outside of their little crate universe, Connor hears a metal hatch closing and can feel the vibration in his feet as they begin to taxi. Connor waits. Engines power up. He can feel the vibration in his feet. He's pushed back against the wall as they accelerate. Hayden tumbles into him, and he shifts over, giving Hayden room to get comfortable again. What's happening? What's happening? Cries MB. Nothing. We're just taking off. What? We're on a plane? Connor rolls his eyes, but the gesture is lost in the darkness. The box is like a coffin. The box is like a womb. Normal measures of time don't seem to apply, and the unpredictable turbulence of flight fills the dark space with an ever-present tension. Once they're airborne, the 4 kids don't speak for a very long time. Half an hour maybe? It's hard to tell. Everyone's mind is trapped in the holding pattern of their own uneasy thoughts. The plane hits some rough air. Everything around them rattles. Connor wonders if there are kids in crates above them, below them, and on every side. He can't hear their voices if they are. From where he sits, it feels like the 4 of them are the only ones in the universe. MB silently relieves himself. Connor knows because he can smell it. Everyone can, but no one says anything. It could just as easily have been any one of them, and depending on how long this trip is, it still could be. Finally, after what feels like forever, the quietest of them all speaks. Unwound, Diego says. I'd rather be unwound. Even though it's been a long time since Hayden posed the question, Connor knows immediately what it refers to. Would you rather die or be unwound? It's like the question has hung in the cramped darkness all this time, waiting to be answered. Not me, says MB, because if you die, at least you go to heaven. Heaven, thinks Connor. More likely they'd go to the other place, because if their own parents didn't care enough about them to keep them, who would want them in heaven? What makes you think unwinds don't go? Diego asks MB. Because unwinds aren't really dead. They're still alive, sort of. I mean, they have to use every single part of us somewhere, right? That's the law. Then Hayden asks the question. Not a question, the question. Asking it is the great taboo among those marked for unwinding. It's what everyone thinks about, but no one ever dares to ask out loud. So then, says Hayden, if every part of you is alive but inside someone else, are you alive or are you dead? This, Connor knows, is Hayden bringing his hand back and forth across the flame again. Close enough to feel it, but not close enough to burn. But it's not just his own hand now, it's everyone's, and it ticks Connor off. Talking wastes our oxygen, Connor says. Let's just agree that unwinding sucks and leave it at that. It shuts everyone up, but only for a minute. It's MB who talks next. I don't think unwinding is bad, he says. I just don't want it to happen to me. Connor wants to ignore him, but can't. If there's one thing that Connor can't abide, it's an unwind who defends unwinding. So it's all right if it happens to us, but not if it happens to you? I didn't say that. Yes, you did. Ooh, says Hayden. This is getting good. They say it's painless, says MB, as if that were any consolation. Yeah, says Connor. Well, why don't you go ask all the pieces of Humphrey Dunphy how painless it was? The name settles like a frost around them. The jolts and rattles of turbulence grow sharper. So you heard that story too? Says Diego. Just because there are stories like that doesn't mean unwinding is all bad, says MB. It helps people. You sound like a tithe, says Diego. Connor finds himself personally insulted by that. No, he doesn't. I know a tithe. His ideas might have been a little bit out there, but he wasn't stupid. The thought of Lev brings with it a wave of despair. Connor doesn't fight it. He just lets it wash through him, then drain away. He doesn't know a tithe. He knew one. One who has certainly met his destiny by now. Are you calling me stupid? Says MB. I think I just did. Hayden laughs. Hey, the mouth breather is right. Unwinding does help people. If it wasn't for unwinding, there'd be bald guys again, and wouldn't that be horrible? Diego snickers, but Connor is not the least bit amused. MB, why don't you do us all a favor and use your mouth for breathing instead of talking until we land or crash or whatever? You might think I'm stupid, but I got a good reason for the way I feel, MB says. When I was little, I was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis. Both my lungs were shutting down. I was going to die. So they took out both my dying lungs and gave me a single lung from an unwind. The only reason I'm alive is because that kid got unwound. So, says Connor, your life is more important than his. He was already unwound. It's not like I did it to him. If I didn't get that lung, someone else would have. In his anger, Connor's voice begins to rise, even though MB's only a couple of feet away at most.